second one is on corruption charges. What if there's, I don't know how you're monitoring or how you're tracking those that we are charged of corruption and secretly discharged. You know, there are these things like that are happening. You won't know that the person has been discharged, acquitted, or is hanging. So we need to know how you're trying to manage that. Thank you.
Thank you. Number 3.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. My name is Lawan Abdul Wahab. I'm from Bayero University, Kano. Mine is a comment to Dr. Tunde pertaining the issue of breaching the last 6 digits of digital divide. It is as if Mr. Tunde has defined the gap completely. While in the literature of ICT for development, the gap exists. The gap is more than knowledge. We talk of gap in terms of access, in terms of resources, in terms of skills, in terms of knowledge, and even in terms of policies by government. So defining last 6 digits is something that is not in the literature. Thank you.
It seems to be a new paradigm. Number 4.
Idris Said, membership 09511. I want to direct my question to the budget. I remember in Djibouti, we normally use budget and tracker, the site. I know that you are familiar with Ms. Ireti Dizu very well, and Mr. Olaiton. So there was a project we monitor. But after we have monitored the project, we think that we had a response from your office. But up to now, we don't add anything. Then there is one at Shagam, Federal Government Shagam School. So under the budget, according to what they told us, is that the implementation of that project has been done. But when we went there, the principal of that school was not allowed us to monitor the budget, talk of to snap it. But in case, because on that school law, I know that we normally upload the pictures. So what can we do? Because the principal writes letters to us that we don't have the authority to come and monitor that project. In case of we have similar experience, what can we do to solve the problem? Thank you, sir. And what's the website for the others?
Thank you. Number 5.
Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Paul Itodo. I have 2 questions for Dr. Chibuike. In the course of your presentation, you gave an instance. You said if your data collectors go to environment, go to somewhere and they ask a 4-year, you said before a 4-year-old child can say he has wives and children, but this time when they go and in the course of data collection, if they see that it's a 4-year-old child, they will not ask any further question. Will that ensure the authenticity of your data collection? Is that enough to ensure the authenticity of your data collection, or you have some other thing there? And the second question is, if you can assure us that the data that will be collected will be authentic, then my question is it possible for you to partner with NCS so that we can use one stone to kill 2 birds? What I mean there is, in Nigeria, I know that we don't have a reliable database. So if you can partner with, your commission can partner with NCS, we may be able to use that opportunity to have a reliable and workable database, if it is possible. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Number 6. Number 6.
Okay. My question, I have 2 questions. One directed to Chukwemeka on my name is Vika Lekiado. And you said in your presentation that one of the mitigation factors that you've identified is use of natural gas rather than liquid fuel. And CH4, which is a greenhouse gas, you said is also responsible for the kind of climate change that we have. So if you want to use natural gas, and CH4 is also a natural gas, and we'd observe that in gas filling stations, there's a lot of emission of natural gas in terms of filling from one cylinder to the other. How are you trying to solve the problem? And then my second question is to budget. I don't really know about budget as a body, so I want to know in what capacity do they work? Is it as an agency of government, just as a concerned citizen or a civil society group? And if as a citizen or a private firm or a civil society group, how are you taking your personal security seriously? Because I know that a lot of politicians will want to come after you.
Number 7.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Victor Denis. The question I want to ask is, how can you track a project so that the politicians will not see it as witch hunt? Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Number 8.
I'm Akinfa Ponda. I'm talking about the census. It's good we brought him to talk to this audience. An event of this magnitude is happening in less than maybe 12 months. And probably we are not yet aware of it, seriously. It means we are going to be embarrassed again, like during the INEC time, when they were getting data capture, 747 was staying in South Africa, and we are doing elections. Now, so many issues about it which I can raise. We already have data captured by BVN and all that. Are they going to start afresh? Nothing has happened. No problem. 2 issues. I have access to the executive of NCS, I know that for sure. But publicly, we should just take ownership too. Don't let us wait in case NCA doesn't move proactively. The country belongs to us. We are going to be embarrassed again in 2018 if we just sit down and do nothing. We need to form a group that will be a monitor and oversight to audit what they are doing in our name. We need to do it. We cannot just wait. And then the NCS represents us. We need to have a whole session for us to really study this, their process and methodology, to see that it will be very well done, to see the timeline we are going to implement, and to see that we don't waste Nigerian money again buying data capture, 1 million ones, and you award fake contracts. All the laptops of that time, I don't know where they are up till now. We don't know. So the NCS also, we have to form a technical working group on this census, if you are really serious. We need to engage fellows to go and visit the NCC office to tell them that we are here. It will create, all of us supposed to be in every ward if they are implementing a computer project. We are not enough to even do the job. Don't let Kenyans come and give us any software like last time. Don't let South Africans come and give us one Linux something that next time. I'm saying it too. I hope you are hearing me.
Dr. Fagunda,
thank you very much.
I think we heard you clear. Luckily, the President of Nigeria Computer Society is on seat. President, sir, I hope that is noted. Okay, thank you. Number 9.
Obnadike Georgina is my name. My question goes to Dr. Chibike on Census 2018. When he was making presentation, he made mention of the attributes they will collect in the during the census. So just like the past speaker just said, I think there is need for them to partner with NIN and BVN, because in the course of collecting the data, NIN is for already there for nation. They will be able to collect and know those people that have gotten their national identification numbers and those people that have not gotten their national identification number. Even BVN, they can just capture, do you have BVN, yes or what, or no. From there we'll know, and we know that people that have BVN and people that don't have BVN. And there is need to integrate the data. There is need for data integration so that we'll not just have scattered data. I suggest that we use this national identification number to integrate other data. Then the other question is to Tolu, on the tracker application. I'm not too conversant with this application, and I want to know whether this is a private project or research, private research, or whether it is a government project or government research. And I know that there are ministries and agencies that are responsible for monitoring and commissioning projects. And if this is government project or research, how are we sure that they won't be corrupt, that they won't be corrupt the way the other agencies or ministry got corrupted? Thank you.
Thank you so much, madam. Thank you. The last point, number 10.
Thank you very much. My name is Bridget C. Ujawago. My question goes to Mr. Tolu on a budget tracking application. Please, I want to know, you made mention that 20 states have been selected for tracking. What formed the basis for such decision? And 2, I want to know, are the 6 geopolitical zones all covered effectively? And then number 3, if I happen to take picture of an abandoned project, how do I upload it to you? Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. Well, the presenters are here. I'm sure they are ready. I'll reverse the order of answering the questions. Let me start from, Sir Aguluyi, I know you have a large chunk of the questions. We'll start from, it's okay. Let's quickly respond to the questions.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for your question, my brother. You know, this roadmap, the NDC is here to be implemented. We are developing a sectorial plan to make sure all the relevant sectors are involved. But we can't continue, you know, as business as usual. These are recommendations. If Nigeria will meet their commitment and targets, we have to, you know, deploy efficiency in the usage of our fuel. No matter the challenges we are having now, this is a road map that we have to stream. Actually, it's not even the climate change that will handle the issue. We have to mainstream it to the relevant sectors that will come up with the proposal on all these things are going to work out. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Mr. Aguluyi, we'll give you just 4 minutes to take your questions.
I have 4 minutes, so I'll run through. I think I have up to 12 questions here, so I've decided to streamline to 9 questions. So let me start with the first one. First one is Ebola. Are we tracking Ebola? Yes, we are. There's a project called Post Ebola, which we are currently working with OSIWA OSWA is Open Society of West Africa, so we are currently doing that. So the report is going to be held first week of September here in Abuja. We'll be launching that. That's one. The Empower. Are we also tracking Empower? The answer is no. But we are tracking a part of Empower, which has to do with the school feeding program. Now, Empower does not really go with the school feeding program, but it still falls under the umbrella of the social intervention program. So we are tracking the school feeding program to make sure that these pupils are fed as said. So if you go through our Twitter handle, which is a budget NG, you will see the infographics we've created, the number of cooks, the number of money disbursed so far in tranches, the number of pupils fed, and so many information you see on our Twitter handle with that. On corruption, I think the question is, how do you manage if someone has been acquitted or discharged? Now, like I said, we get this data from EFCC, so we are collaborating with EFCC and ICPC. So we follow that case till the end. And there's always a status created in that website. If the case is ongoing or if it has been, what's the last word now? Pardon me. I want to use the right word, but then the implementation, how do you monitor the budget without issues? Like I said, it's been difficult, but your point of entry should be with the traditional rulers in that community. If you go straight to the traditional rulers in that particular community, tell them where you work, tell them what you're about to do in that community, you will get his audience. No matter, some of the traditional rulers also belong to political parties, that's the truth. But then, in as much you present your case very well, you will get audience from him, and you go ahead to try projects. On personal security, it's been difficult, actually. But then, besides tracking, there was this case about Fashola when he was the Lagos State governor, where mistakenly published on the Lagos State website that Fashola built a website for 70 million naira. We saw it, we tagged it, and we wrote a story on it. And the next thing we got was death threats. So we had to walk up to some of these dailies, national dailies, and we had to put it out there that we've received death threats, and ever since then, we didn't hear anything. But truly, it was built for 70 million. Thank God I'm with people who are tech inclined there. I don't know how much it will cost to build a website, but 70 million. Now, for the man that said something about Ijebu-Ode and the likes, it seems if we go to all these, the traditional rulers, we track the budget. The project has not been implemented. The next step for us to do is to write the ministry. Now, one of the best things that the last administration did for us was Freedom of Information Act, where you can use the FOI Act to request for any kind of information. I repeat, any kind of information except security issues. So they tend to but if it's not security related, you can ask and they are liable to answer you within 7 days. If you don't get a response, you give them another 7 days. In total, 14 days. And you have the right to sue that particular ministry. Though some states governments have not keyed into the FOI. Now, is Tracker a government initiative? No. Budget is a CSO, civil society organization. Budget is also a tech-based organization, but we have no affiliation with any government. We do these on our own. Most of the things we create are financed by foreign donors. I can list them: Gates Foundation, Osiwa, Makato, the list is endless. For the 20 states, for the 20 states, I think let me quickly mention some of the states here. So you can now determine if we were able to cover. Okay, so we have Ogun State, Kogi, Oyo, Enugu, Ekiti, Osun, Sokoto, Kano, Edo, Delta, Kaduna, Niger, Gombe, Lagos, Ondo, Imo, Cross River, Kebbi, and Akwa Ibom. So those are states we decided to cover. And I believe if you should map it, I think we've tried to cover all the whole country. How do you upload? Now, the website is tracker.ng. Now, it is not the normal spelling. It's track with an A. So, TRACKA.ng. If you want to download the app, it's still the word tracker with an A, not with ER, tracker. So you go there, you log in either with your Facebook or your email address. You put in the title of the report. If you know the amount of the project as captured in the budget, you put it there. Because you might not have access to the money released for the project, leave it blank. It is optional. At the back end, we will put in there. The beauty about Tracker also is there is a place, if you have the number of maybe the senator or the rep or the ministry that implements that project, and automatically he gets an SMS telling him that someone has reported an abandoned project or a project. So there's a room for pictures. Okay, sorry, I'll round up now. There's room for pictures. How can you track projects and not have place to put pictures as attachments? So if you visit tracker.ng, get to use it, and the story will be different. Thank you.
Well, thank you so much. Dr. Iloka, I think you have a few questions.
All right.
Okay,
thank you. The first question was talking about this 4 years, as I said. We have what we call paper program interface and computer-based program interface. In the paper interface, it's what's just physical. The program is there, skip this, but somebody can still use this biro and whatever, writing into what he asks to skip. But in the computer program interface, once that skip will be automatic. If you enter, depending on what we call the EDIC specification, the specification that is given, if you ask this record male, if you enter male, it will be giving you the male questions. If you say female, it will be giving you female questions, just like that. And you know, at the end of the day, if you are submitting your questions, if the mandatory fields is not filled, the system will question you that there are certain fields you ought to fill. So it's just there skipping. That said that this paperless issue, where we are using handheld, will reduce to the barest minimum the section as editing of the respondents' answers and imputations, which normally will have other years. But with paperless, it's good as if the program is programmed well and adapted, which will use the POC. We have the POC, we have the proof of concept, we have the pre-test, we have the first trial, second trial, and so on, which we have to perfect the system before adoption. So ensure that the integrity of the data will be assured. And the question on somebody who is now talking about NCS and that, to say for now we are interfacing, engaging OEMs, ICT solution providers, towards the path we are charting for the nation. So, and here, my DG have mentioned that apart from that, from now on, that you say the engagement is starting with, as a group, NCS from today. Then the issue of BVN. Yeah, there is a data, they've captured biometrics, BVN. Who are those captured? Account holders, bank account holders. The NIM, as of today, the NIMC group have not captured up to, I don't think, how many people have gotten even their NIM numbers, as we call their cards. It's not up to 20 million. How many Nigerians are there? So, had it been the BVN, the people have gotten their BVN on the NIM complete, what we would have done is authentication. You just give us a NIM number, we will now say, yeah, this is you, and we'll administer the questions. It is unavailable. So the only time all Nigerians will have something that looks like they are having a unique code capturing the biometrics of all Nigerians is when these census that we are planning have been conducted. Of course, the byproduct of the census, like we have from our EAD, Nigerians have not gotten zip codes. We want to generate zip code for through the demarcation we are doing. And the end product of our...
The first company that discovered oil in Olobiri in 1956. Please clap again for Shell. And I'm inviting to the podium to discuss harnessing harnessing IoT, Internet of Things, I beg your pardon, for sustainability and smart environment. Oluwatobi Oyinlola is embedded system engineer of R-Loop Incorporated. Oluwatobi Oyinlola, are you here? Okay. Oluwatobi Oyinlola is coming. The man is embedded system engineer, is embedded in his suit. Please come forward to the high table. Give me a round of applause. And of course, to disrupt, grow and thrive cloud technologies is Kasim Adebuga, principal consultant and founder, Icon System Limited. Kasim Adebuga, where are you? Please give me a round of applause as well. This conference is very interesting to me. You can see very young, vibrant people coming on board. The one of Andela, he abused me before he left. I have forgiven him. Otherwise, I would have replied, but I have forgiven him. I'm in very good mood today. While you can see young people, let me invite an old man to join them. Somebody of the COBOL generation, of the Unix generation. When I talk about subroutine, they talk about method. When I talk about structured programming, they talk about object-oriented programming. When I speak about Unix and all those proprietary systems, they talk about open systems. Okay, let me bring somebody from my generation. Abdulakim Ajola, please come forward and speak to the issue of securing fintech and disruptive technologies. Akim Ajola is Executive Chairman of Consultancy Support Services Limited, former Special Advisor to National Security Advisor of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. You're welcome. At this point, Mr. Chairman, that is Dakoladeji. This is Exale 1820. Please try to finish this session latest by 7:15 so that people who need to travel far to their places of residence will be able to do so. It's going to be a tough one. We have brought very, very enlightened and very deep people to take these topics. I'm sure they're going to do justice to it, but nonetheless, please run this within 1 hour. I invite the chairman of this occasion, of this session, Dakola Deji, to please step forward. Well, I have this announcement from NACOSITE. This is to inform all NACOSITE or NYC to remain behind for a brief meeting. This is from National Vice President of National Association of Computer Science Students, NACOS. Mr. Chairman, your time starts from now.
I think I'll be now because the one that's ready. We want to give you the slides. Oh, okay. Thank you. Okay, good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. So we've gotten a lot of introductions of our very distinguished speakers for this session. We are going to tweak the program a little bit. So I know the program says we'll start with the topic on harnessing IoT for sustainable and smart environments. But we are going to tweak that a little, and then we'll start with securing fintech and disruptive technologies, which Mr. Abdul Hakim Ajijola will take. So please. Okay. Thank you. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. My seniors in the industry, the two chairmen, our president, and also the president of CPN. Let me quickly jump into it so that we will allow the younger people also a little more time to speak. Oh dear, technology. Okay. Yes. Okay. So basically, what are disruptive technologies? The term disruptive technology was actually something first espoused by a gentleman called Professor Clayton of Harvard University. And he basically looked at a disruptive technology as one that displaces an established technology. Now, I would want to say that disruptive technology in of itself is more than just the equipment. It is also the people and the processes. And I think it's important to emphasize that the NCS, the computer industry, the IT industry, in of itself, we are disruptive by nature. I would like to think that we are disruptive in a constructive manner, but please, you must consider yourself in what you do as disruptive. You do have to find new ways to transform life, to transform business, and to transform the global economy. Now, disruptive technology is not simply just a modern thing. I'm sure many of us, when we were growing up, we used to see something in our libraries called an encyclopedia. How many of us have encyclopedias at home? Very few. What happened at a point was that Microsoft came up with an interesting product called Encarta. And Encarta disrupted the traditional encyclopedia. But guess what? You had to pay for Encarta. And so in another process of technology, basically Wikipedia came up. How many people in this hall have used Wikipedia before? Quite a few. And that goes to the power of the disruption. Now, when we look at how disruption works, again, I believe the presentation will be made available to the participants. But we have to understand that it is composed of a couple of things. First of all, you have to look at mass adoption. You have to look at what areas, what key sectors, what markets do these things affect, and what are the external forces. So privacy is an external force. Cybersecurity, which is among the issues that I hope to touch on today, are among the external forces that affect and impact the disruption. So, in the modern world, in the contemporary world, let me say, examples of disruptive technologies, the Internet of Things, many of us have heard of this. But also we have to look at mobile technology. There is something now coming up called blockchain technology. And of course, one of the very important ones is 3D printing. So, one of the most important disruptive technologies in our era is something called fintech. And fintech really is just a shortening of financial technology as a word. A very good example of one of these lending, payments, money transfers. And coming back to Nigeria, fintech is taking serious hold. We have so many organizations disrupting through fintech. We have payment platforms. Many of us have heard of Remita, I'm sure, in terms of the federal government budget. We've heard of BoxMe. I think that's by Wema Bank. We've heard of Slim Trader, which is a merchant service. And yes, we have cryptocurrencies. There's actually a cryptocurrency called BitPesa that is very local to us. So it's not just about Bitcoin or some of the other ones that we hear about. There are also other aspects of the financial ecosystem. Sure gifts. I think those of us who use GT Bank, we know about star 737. These are all disruptive technologies. So the banks themselves have, some of them have realized that you are either going to get swept away or you build a boat and ride the flood. As they say, it wasn't raining when Noah built the ark. And yes, it is very much a 21st century phenomenon. Now, when you look at the issues to do with financial technology, fintech, one of the key things is that there's an important need, an imperative, that as a nation we begin to discuss the ethical use of data. We cannot wait. And with all due respect, my two presidents, NCS, CPN, please, I need your organizations, we need your organizations to lead this debate and discussion. Government is not going to do it for us. The debate, the ethical use of our data. Today, many of us use, for example, Google to find our, and somehow Google knows the go slow at a point. It knows this because it's tracking all of us. Do we know that it's tracking us? Many of us don't. Is it their right to do so? If I go and give my biometrics to the Population Commission, my 10 fingerprints, do I still own my fingerprints? What if they lose it? What if it is hacked? Can I reset my fingerprints? These are very important questions that I believe the NCS needs to lead the national debate on. Now, when we come to the issue of security, basically security is to be in a state free from danger, to be free from threats. There are many types of security. I think many of us today are concerned about physical security. We have groups in the Niger Delta. We have groups in the Northeast. Even groups on Kaduna-Abuja Road that threaten our physical security. There's also political security, yes, financial security. But for us as IT professionals, we need to also look closely at our cybersecurity and our ICT security. Now, very quickly, at a generic level, there are some things that if you address from a security point of view, it doesn't matter the security. In fact, for me, this particular slide you're looking at is probably the single most important slide I can share with you today. The issue of assurance, the issues of countermeasures, defense in depth. I know these are some new words that some of us may be learning. The issues of risk, the issues of threats, vulnerability, and exploits. Once we understand these things, they can be applied to whether it is fintech, disruptive technology, your home security, your office security, your data security, you name it, these things can be addressed. And yes, we can go into some of the details, but for example, what is a countermeasure? A way to stop a threat from triggering a risk event. So we need to look at these things. Very quickly, let me just touch on the issue of cyberspace. Ladies and gentlemen, cyberspace is not borderless. In every country, your law enforcement, your national security establishment is restricted by jurisdiction. If somebody in Accra uses a computer on the screen, but there's no need going into the depth of it, but the critical thing, I think, is that we need to develop cybersecurity controls, which is step 1 in red at the bottom left-hand corner. Most of us, 90% of us, are here. And we need to be able to quickly improve, ramp up quickly, so that we can address sophisticated attacks. We also need to be able to follow and adhere and understand the international standards. They're there for a reason. Fintechs by nature engage globally, not just locally. But even our local system has to be able to address this. So, this is my last slide, ladies and gentlemen. Some of the steps we need to look at to secure, or in terms of cybersecurity, our financial technology and disruptive startups generally. I won't go into all of them, but I'll highlight. You need to take a step back and think, what are the top 10 ways you can be attacked? Go to your home this evening and sit down in your sitting room and look at your house and your compound. What 10 ways can you be attacked? Physically, in that case. Then look at how you would apply it in your fintech. Also in fintech, solutions, modules, apps, websites, they evolve. They are constantly evolving. They are organic. And changes and upgrades are made continuously. You have to have a penetration test each time you make the slightest change, because you don't know, in trying to panel beat one side, you have opened up another side. Ladies and gentlemen, in closing, I would like to just raise one or two issues that are very close to my heart, and I hope that you will buy into the ideas. The first issue for fintechs, disruptors, indeed for NCS and for Nigeria, the issue of women in technology. You cannot, as a nation, develop when you have left 50% of resource base idle. You cannot. Just not sensible. It's not practical. It's not possible. So we do have to encourage our wives, our sisters, our daughters, our nieces into this technology. In particular, cybersecurity. We must. The second thing I would like to raise is that in 2015, the cybersecurity solutions industry for Africa alone was estimated to be about $1 billion. By 2018, even if you say 2020, it is estimated to rise to $3.6 billion. As the lawyers would say, I put it to you, what piece of that action are we going to get? What piece of that action are your children going to get? How can we convert a problem of cybersecurity into a money maker? How many of us here have had a headache? Ever? Headache, is it not a problem? Huh? Think about a headache for a moment. Your head is throbbing, it's paining you. There's a supplier who supplied raw material. To whom? A manufacturer. The manufacturer produced a product, Panadol. Somebody wholesaled it. Somebody transported it. Somebody retailed it. Indeed, maybe your house help pocketed the change when you sent them to even buy the sachet. There was a value chain. Everybody made money. From headache. One of our headaches is cybersecurity. There's 3.6 billion by next year. So I ask you again, what piece of that action are you going to get? One of the ways to get that action is to develop hackers. One of the things that we've done is that we've tried our best to hold hacking competitions. And there are many people that say, well, you know, hacking is bad. It depends on your perspective. How many of us have been to our house and realized that we have misplaced our key? Has it happened to anybody here before? What do? You call a carpenter. What does the carpenter do? Uses their knowledge and their tools to open your door, to solve your headache, your problem for you. Now, there may be some of us, unfortunately, who got home and had their key in their hand and found their door open already. Yes, you've been hacked. Same set of ideas, same set of tools. I know from working with people like Dr. Fapohunda, when he was young, that his father's bicycle used to dismantle it. And that's why the man used to flog him. We play with things. Some of us, our father's gramophone, we used to tinker with it. That is hacking. But back to the 21st century, we use software. Now, I talked about Georgia, Estonia, and some of these countries that had the cyber attack before your kinetic attack. If somebody attacks Nigeria today, are you going to go and call a European or an Israeli or an American to defend you? You could. I doubt you can afford them given the recession. So we have to develop local capacity here and now. Please, we have to think about it. My two presidents, I would urge you to initiate this discussion. Last but not least, ladies and gentlemen, my dream for us is to build a cybersecurity solutions industry. When Israel was established, it found itself in a neighborhood where it didn't have many friends. Yes, some of them sat down and cried about it. What did others do? They built a world-class defense armaments factory. They are making money from their problem. They are making money from headache. To make our own money, that 3.6 billion for Africa, say the world, is there for us to take. So ladies and gentlemen, I pray that you take this message forward, that at least, if not by 2020, by 2023, let Nigeria have a micro, small, and medium-scale enterprises cybersecurity solutions industry, principally driven by those below 35 years of age. Because those are the people, when the national cyber security emergency happens, they are going to be our cyber warriors. They are going to be our vanguard. Thank you very, very much.
Thank you very much, Dr. Ayaka. Thank you very much. So on that note, we'll start with one of our under 45s who will now show us. Yeah. So we'll start with the topic on harnessing IoT for sustainability and smart environments.
Hi, everyone. My name is Oluwatobi Oyinlola. I'm an embedded system engineer for R-Loop. And majorly, what we are into is we're trying to create the next generation vehicle, and that is Hyperloop. Unfortunately, Nigeria, we are not there yet, but I think as we grow, we can move to that level. I'll be talking on Internet of Things, specifically the kind of knowledge I have on IoT. It's not just people standing on pulpits telling us that, okay, IoT is just controlling devices alone. But what I know about IoT is you being able to build the device yourself and also control the world. That is why most of the time computer science students or maybe information technology engineers and the likes, they think people that should really tap into IoT are just electrical engineering students, mechanical, robotics, and the likes. But unfortunately, it is meant for everyone. I am an electrical student, but my major focus is on IoT and embedded systems designs. So I have some slides that I hope they can just put some projection. Okay, I believe you have a little idea of what Internet of Things is. Your mobile phone is not an Internet of Things device because you have a mobile phone and you think you're also an IoT expert. No. But ability to be able to control something from somewhere, probably a system, and you want to control the world. Not just controlling the world, but controlling devices. We have different categories of Internet of Things nowadays. We have the one for you have sensors mounted. Okay. So most of the time, for IoT, we have the sensors whereby you can maybe mount it in your body, and you have an Android app. You can receive data that, okay, you want to run this morning, you have the motion sensors, and automatically you... Yeah, I don't know. Because I would love to really project some pictures here. Okay, sorry. Let me just do some little practical demo. I know we are very much tired, but I just believe I can just display some little skill sets you can use IoT to do. Forget about people talking about, yeah, I do things with IoT, you have your Android app, but ability to be able to control things yourself, and that is one of the things about IoT. The topic is talking about how we can use IoT, to solve problems in Africa. Maybe, US can't solve our problem. We know our problem ourselves. But how can we use Internet of Things to solve these critical problems? Recently, I published a paper on can IoT solve fuel theft in Africa? Unfortunately for me, IEEE picked it up as they said, okay, Africa as a nation, they believe the same fuel system we have in Africa is the same thing they have in US and China and some other countries. Unfortunately not. I don't want to go deeply into that. I just hope I have the presentation slide so that I can talk more on that. So there is a system called Raspberry Pi. A lot of people might have had it maybe during your computer science courses. There is Arduino. These are devices that are designed majorly to control external sources. I was talking about having sensors in your body. Let me let you understand something. If you have a sensor mounted in your body, just your wrist, watch, specifically for you to just measure your blood level or maybe your heartbeat. I remember vividly when my younger sister was very sick and the doctor said, okay, we need to check the heartbeat of my sister. And they said they need to order this thing from US. I said, don't worry, let's just put some things together and install it inside her. We don't have to insert it. Just mount it somewhere inside our body. Unfortunately, I could read the data from my laptop. Okay, the level of my sister's heartbeat today is a little bit very high. Can we try and check it maybe the following day? Now, let me let you understand something. Africa as a nation, our own IoT is kind of different from USA because USA are now talking about smart cities. But Nigeria, we are not even talking about anything smart yet. But as a matter of fact, if you're not talking about anything smart yet, we need to grow along the line and move with the smart intelligence. Some problems we have in Africa that majorly people think it's a critical problem, that before we can solve it, we have to travel to China and order some devices, install it in Nigeria and solve it. No. We have some smart guys in computer science, we have some smart guys in engineering, smart guys in information technology, whereby they can put things together and turn into a problem and solution in Africa. I have a device here specifically. It's an IoT device. But unfortunately, any computer science student cannot just pick up this thing and design it. It's not possible. But if you are a computer scientist, you have a friend in mechanical, you have a friend in electrical, you guys can bridge gap together and build a great IoT solution. If you think IoT is just a programmer, I write PHP, I write Java, I write a lot of other programming languages, and you think you can solve problems with IoT using those programming languages. Unfortunately not. Though it is good for you because you write PHP, they have grown in a level in which they are supporting those programming languages now. Before now, the only language you can use for IoT is just C programming. And a lot of people don't even write C programming here. So for African problem that I've listed like 3 or 4 different solutions using IoT. Assuming you're in your house and you have a car and you don't want to bother yourself to just use the key to open the door, or you just want to use a smart card, have a device in your house already wired in your house. You want to manage your electricity, you want to manage a lot of things in your house. Don't bother running different cables. Okay, you want to have a switch here, switch here, switch here. Have just one switch that controls everything. And the only thing you need to do is just open your mobile phone, control your bulbs yourself, control the gates yourself, control your television, control everything. With this, I believe you can reduce some little of more electricity in your house. But specifically, people can be thinking that, how could I afford to, get this done easily? This board is just $30. And I believe even in support of organizations, they can send it for free for a lot of smart engineers in Nigeria, in which they don't even need to, sorry. So sorry for the, I don't know what's wrong. Sustainability, smart environment. So let me just rush briefly about all the slides I have here so that you can have a Oluwatobi, that is my name. What is IoT? You want to connect things to the internet, your pump, meters, and the likes. The scope of IoT, most of the time, a guy talk about data here, that we are not managing data very well because it assumed to me that we don't need it. But for IoT, it is one of the most important things. When they are talking about weather station, I remember vividly, there is a weather station that is still mounted in Federal University of Technology Agriculture, FUTA rather, in Akure. Today, they are still using the same data to analyze. Though we have global warming and we cannot have accurate details of, can we even predict that, okay, by December it's going to rain? But before now, our forefathers would sit down inside their house and tell us, okay, listen, December there won't be rain. But this our own generation, we have a lot of global warming. But as a matter of fact, if this data are gathered maybe 3-4 years ago and we can relate it to maybe today's innovation and say, okay, 3 years ago, the data we gathered explained that by January there's going to be a lot of raining season, But unfortunately, those data are not really accurate like before. So IoT is having a device, having an interface on the air like a database or a cloud or information system. Your device connects to the cloud, send information back to you, interpret those informations, no matter how difficult the information is. Probably you want to automate something. When I was growing up, the first project I built was a line follower robot. How does that work? When you're inside an eatery, probably they want to serve you food. Must I hire like 5 guys to serve me food? Why can't I just get a robot and just move around just a lane and go ahead, serve the food, pack the plates? The only person I need is just the cashier and probably those people that cook. Let me tell you, if engineers and information technologists didn't tap into IoT for now, I believe a lot of people will be discarded as we grow. Because if you think you can do things like, okay, you think you are smart, by the time IoT take over the whole nation, you will discover that, man, I can't even do anything. So that device specifically, it can, serve food, and you press a button again, the device will go back there and pick the food, and pick the plates rather. And that is what it keeps doing. What do I need to pay the device? I don't need to pay the device any money. I just need to charge the device, and that is all. I have power in my house. So it is better for us to tap into Internet of Things and think about the future around it, not just sitting down in one computer department and say, okay, you want to be a programmer, you are writing like 1,001 papers. It's more than that. But applying those IoT problems, solving it in Africa here in Nigeria, it's one of the great things. Let me just quickly go. Okay, we move from Internet of people to Internet of things. That is very sure. I remember vividly when they want to send things to your maybe forefather, they have to send it through mail. But you don't need to do that anymore because the world has already grown. I have another landscape. Cloud computing is saving you that stress. When you have hardware in place, your hardware need to be powered, right? So you need to invest on powering your hardware. You need to invest on cooling your hardware as well. So cloud computing simply, take all those responsibilities away from us, right? So we're simply delegating it to someone else. So all you need to do is pay a certain amount to your cloud provider to have those your solution, those your services running in the cloud. So that's one model. Another model that we have is PaaS, Platform as a Service. So Platform as a Service is basically more for the developers. So if you're a developer, you don't want to worry about installing operating system, having to worry about IDEs, integrated development environment that you need to code with. You just want a place that has everything already made where you can get to work, code your stuff and, be more productive. Then Platform as a Service is for you, right? So developers can use already existing apps, already existing tools to code, their line of business application, and then they can sell it in the form of SaaS, on different cloud providers, in their marketplaces. So you find many of these cloud providers have, marketplaces where you can buy apps, right? So those apps are being put together by developers, right? And they leverage on PaaS, to be able to aid their developmental process, right? SaaS is the last one. So SaaS is the short for Software as a Service. So Software as a Service is more for the consumer, right? You want a tool that can allow you collaborate. A good example of a tool that allows you collaborate is SharePoint, right? So to have SharePoint installed on premise is not an easy thing to do. It's not a cheap solution to deploy. It's very expensive. You will need to buy a number of licenses, SQL Server license, the SharePoint license itself. You need to make sure that you have the AD sitting on-prem. You need to make sure that those solutions are highly available, right? So it's not a cheap solution to deploy. But you simply can pay a provider a token amount to consume SharePoint because, a provider has gone through the trouble of rolling out the softwares in the cloud. You can just consume, right? So another good example is the Gmail. I assume that many of us here have Gmail accounts. So Gmail is a very good example of a software as a service. Even when you connect with your Gmail account, you have access to some other services. There are other services that you can as well leverage on. So those are models of cloud computing that we have. Why use cloud computing? So this is, advantage also of cloud computing. One is its speed. So if I need to deploy a solution on-prem, the traditional way of doing things is to, like I mentioned earlier, acquire, your infrastructure that you need to put up that solution. You need to plan. You don't just roll out solution. So there has to be a pre-deployment plan, then the deployment itself, which is going to take, a number of time for you to roll out. So you find out that, it takes you a lot of time to deploy a solution, whereas you simply can hook onto the cloud, pay your provider a certain amount, and, continue to use that service that you have running in the cloud. So it's a lot faster, to work with. And another advantage is scalability, right? So this cloud allows you to easily scale up or down, so you can scale down or up, at will. If you feel you started with something small, a package that is small in the cloud, and you are beginning to get more demands, more requests, to your services, you simply can upgrade. Even at a later time, if you feel there's a need to, downgrade it, you can scale it down. So you have so much ease when it comes to scaling in the cloud. And another one is economics, lowered costs. You don't have to pay for power. You don't have to pay for cooling. There's no need to have a place to put your servers, so on and so forth. However, there are also some myths, associated to doing cloud computing. So there are some hindrances, some certain myths misconceptions that people have about the cloud that is preventing them, from migrating to the cloud. So I'll just mention a few of them here. One of them is cost. So people tend to think that cloud computing or doing cloud computing is very expensive. So that is relative, right? So it depends on what you want to have running in the cloud. But, your administrators now, can try to work with your guy to make sure that, to see if cloud computing, migrating to cloud computing is going to save you money. Most of the time it should. So for a small business, there's no doubt that, cloud computing is going to save you way more, than having those solutions deployed on-prem. Plus the fact that you don't have to worry about availability, service downtime. Most of the providers will promise you a very high level of availability. And sometimes those availability levels, they are also financially backed, right? So you just need to understand, the interpretation of SLA, which you have documented in the SLA with the service provider to be able to go into business with them. So some of them will tell you, if you have a service disruption for this period of time, then when next you are subscribing, maybe you even subscribe for free, or, they give you free of charge for a period of time. So it's not expensive. Another challenge that, misconception that people have is that a number of IT heads think that introducing cloud computing will be the end of IT. They feel that once they migrate into the cloud, then they simply become redundant. What's then there for us to do, when we have everything seated in the cloud? So that is also not very true. So if you those solutions, they still require administration. So the administrators are definitely still not going to lose their job. It is still your job to do those things. The only difference here is that you don't have access, you don't have physical access to those machines. You don't have physical access. You cannot sometimes, maybe turn off your boxes, turn them on. There are some services like IaaS, it gives you more power, right? So to be able to do certain things in the cloud. So it's not the end of IT department. Yes, it's going to reduce the amount of technical support jobs. But for most of the administrators, some of those technical issues are things we don't even want to worry ourselves with to begin with. I mean, in today's age, who wants to worry about the memory, not working, the keyboard, the power, cord is not working. I mean, you want to leave all of those things to the cloud provider to worry about, right? Another one is the SLA. Some people feel, well, the cloud provider would design the SLA to suit them. Yes, sometimes they do, but it is also your duty now to have people in-house that will be able to understand those terminologies that is being spoken in the SLA document, right? Because of time, I have, I think, some 5 minutes. So advantages, opportunities that cloud computing offers. So cloud computing, offers a number of advantages to us. It helps organizations to save money by convenience for your users. So I mentioned that earlier. So it just makes work seamless, right? So you can telecommute all you want. You don't have to be at the office to get your job done. So how cool is that? So that is, one of the very good things that cloud computing, brings on board. Another advantage is that it opens up, positions for, you can have a cloud architect, you can have all sort of, position like cloud, becoming a cloud developer, building, if you're a developer already, you might want to also consider developing applications, for the cloud, developers, security, so there is also security in the cloud, so on and so forth. And most of the job openings, so you can look it up, right? So most of them right now are cloud-based, right? So learning about the cloud is going to give us, more leverage, right? So these are just some opportunities that it presents. So I'm going to wrap up now with, a quote from Martin Luther King. So he said, our life begins to end, the day with become silent about things that matters, right? So cloud computing is one of those things that matters in today's age, right? So cloud computing, if well leveraged, is something that we can use to self-disrupt ourselves, to get ourselves away from the comfort zone. And if we can leverage on it well enough, so I'm pretty sure that it's going to allow us grow and, we will thrive in the process. Thank you.
Thank you very much. So we've had a range of presentations all focusing on disruptive technologies, where Mr. Jijola introduced the concept of disruptive technologies and talked about fintech. Then we had Mr. Oyinlola who talked extensively about IoT. And lastly, we've just had Mr. Adegboyega who talked a lot about cloud technologies. Unfortunately, these were all very interesting and very deep topics, and we've really overshot on time. However, we need to give some opportunity for the audience to ask a few questions. Probably we'll just take about 3 questions, and then we can now discuss with the presenters offline during dinner. They'll all be around tomorrow, and then we can go in depth into the specific technology or questions that we might not be able to take today. So I'll just take 3-4 questions, and then we have to round up. Do I have any? Let's see who has any question. Okay. So there's that gentleman. Oh, there's the lady over there. There's a gentleman there. And there's another lady over there. So let's take those 3. Okay. And there's a gentleman here as well. So making 4. Okay. So let's go with the lady there.
Thank you very much, sirs, for the wonderful presentations. My name is Fatokun Abimbola. I just want more explanation on cloud computing, as in the security aspect. I really want to know how secured it is. Thank you.
Okay.
Yeah, my name is Mistura Soni. I want to thank the presenters. You see, talking about cloud, my take is, I had some experiences. I had this data, and I actually want to send to some students, and I have to put in Google Drive. So this thing came to me that, okay, why do I need to leave it open, Meanwhile, I got it from the open, so to say. On cloud, you were saying that we're free and it's seamless. This particular infrastructure is not ours. It's just like in an hotel room. It's not my house. So even those things that I put there, I want to have the understanding that they are safe. Safe in quotes. So for cloud, we had actually give out or trade off a lot of things, It's like saying you are not having a dress on and you are saying you are free, Putting your money in the bank means that the bank manager knows your capacity in terms of naira, okay? However, your money is safe. So I want you to leverage on the security and the privacy vis-a-vis infrastructures that we don't own. Thank you.
My name is Anjon Isiak. I want to specifically thank the panel for the section so far. My question is to my colleagues, in IoT. You've talked about the versions and other things that we're talking about. One thing we have actually not addressed, and I don't know your take on it, is that those devices, as we speak, are being imported from abroad. So how can we go about getting those things constructed locally instead of us saying we want to bring about those divides before we can key into the concept of IoT. That's my own.
Thank you. I think there are two gentlemen over here.
Okay, good evening. My name is Temitope Aladesomi. My question is to Mr. Ajijola. There is this raging debate, and as recent as about 3 weeks ago, and it's unfortunate that Mr. Shofison is not here now, about who owns the domain of cybersecurity. Is cybersecurity a technical issue? Is it a legal issue? Or is it a business issue? And because the perception of that will help us to see the seriousness with which, as a country, we begin to take cybersecurity. So I just want to know your take on this. Number two, some school of thought have believed that no matter how much you secure your data, your network, or whatever it is, a determined hacker will always get in. And so, as a fintech specialist, what is the position of cyber insurance, for instance, in this part of the world? In other climes, people have begun to clamor that rather than look at the technical part of cybersecurity, can we begin to look at cyber insurance, that what happens after a successful attack? Just one more question. To my gentleman, the IoT, very wonderful passion. But then may I just also disagree a bit with you that Nigerians are not smart. I'm not sure that Nigerians are not smart. I think what we need is people like you to work with those of us here to promote IoT further, rather than just generalizing and saying Nigerians are not smart. I want to be sure, I want to say that we actually have very wonderful and smart Nigerians. Thank you.
Thank you. Adekunle Eludire is my name. My question is to the last presenter, the cloud computing. Well, actually, I'll be linking it to the first presenter also. We talk about the issue of loss of privacy once we put our things out of our own domain. I just want to know whether this study and this type of work you have done, you've been able to identify, do we really have local cloud service suppliers, which probably will reduce our dependency on the outside sources, which can be source of risk to us nationally. Thank you.
Okay, I think we have very brilliant questions, and expectedly most of them are on cloud. And so we'll probably start a little bit on that, but I'll give you just some boundary questions around that. Cloud is a very interesting topic, and we won't be able to answer in depth all these questions because they are really involving. I can also give you an industry perspective on the security of cloud, and Mr. Jijola did talk about the importance of having local data providers, which, by the way, we have some now. We have, in fact, if you check the first page in your brochure, you see one of them right over there. And I think we have more than at least three, well, I was going to say 3, or is it 4, 3 certified centers, and then possibly another 2 or 3 who are still going through the accreditation process. But I don't want to steal their thunder and start answering the questions for them. But I just wanted to say that they might not be able to go as in-depth as you would like, so you might still need to follow up with them after the session, since it's really getting late and we have limited time. But we start with the gentleman on cloud.
All right. Thank you for the questions. The questions are more of security questions, cloud security issues or challenges. Yes, one thing we need to understand about cloud, yes, when we choose to migrate to the cloud, we lose some, of our confidentiality. That is true. But nonetheless, there are a number of factors that we need to consider, right? So one of the factors is the data center that your information is going to be hosted in, with the cloud provider that you're going with. So you need to look into that. And sometimes for compliance reasons, there are some organizations that might not be able to migrate their solutions or their line of business applications into the cloud. But that is still not a limiting factor, that you can have what is known as an hybrid scenario, where you sit your highly sensitive information still on premises, and then you have not so sensitive sitting in the cloud. And there are also some best practices that some of these providers have put in place, right? They have very high level of, encryption algorithm that you can work with, bearing in mind also that some of the services are free-based, some of them are fee-based, right? So if you are subscribing to the free-based service, then the provider is not liable for a number of things. So you cannot hold them liable. So you might be able to hold them liable if you go with the fee-based service. And then to wrap up, there are also, because of time, so I didn't go into the nitty-gritty of, talking about the different types. There's something known as the private cloud. So if you run your own business, maybe a financial kind of organization, you can look at having your own private cloud and not having to subscribe to the public cloud. So there is the public cloud, there is the private cloud, and there is the hybrid, where you have some information sitting on premises and you migrate some to the cloud. Thank you.
Okay, thanks. Then the IoT specialist.
Yeah, thank you for the question. Actually, creating a solution in Nigeria, it's not rocket science, but I believe we can start from somewhere by leveraging on a platform whereby maybe Americans have done for us. You don't have to build Cisco from scratch. Cisco router. You just buy Cisco router and install. But we need to start from somewhere. Yeah, we can encourage Nigerian manufacturing, like probably people putting systems together by building them. But as a matter of fact, by the time you calculate all the money you want to use to build them, it's going to be more expensive compared to what you want to buy for just $3 or $4. But as we grow in technological innovation, we can create our own device that will be totally different from the one from US, China, and the like. I've been doing soldering for the past, I don't know the years now, and it is locally made. I hate US people, sorry, because once they keep selling things to us, we buy it and we pay in dollars. Butting the money alone pisses me off. So I always decide, okay, if I want to build a solution in IoT, the only thing I need to source for is just a processor and some other discrete components. Put everything together in Nigeria and send it to maybe China and get the PCB ready for you, and at a cheaper rate, it's more reliable that way. But as a matter of fact, if you are setting up a manufacturing line in Nigeria in which there are some research institute that does that, like Prototype Engineering and Design Institute is in Elisha. They accept students with great mind that have, maybe probably they want to build something from scratch. So about talking about Nigerians are not smart, very smart. Different way we apply smartness in everything. So maybe you didn't get what I was trying to say. So I think locally made designs, I always encourage it from day one. I don't like buying things from US, but to leverage with the level of what US and other countries are doing in smart technology, smart cities, we need to still use their technology to understand how does it work specifically before we now build ours locally. Thank you.
Thank you for some very interesting questions. If I may quickly just turn to Madam Abimbola and Monsura. I would ask you a question. Would you keep your life savings at home? Probably not. You'd probably keep it in a bank. And there are good reasons. The bank has its security updated regularly. So is your software on your phone and your computer, are they updated as regularly as they should? Are your other systems updated? Have you ever lost any of your equipment? Have you ever experienced equipment failure? These are the things that happen when you keep your stuff yourself. And that's one of the reasons people regard those things as cybersecurity, but actually,
at the end of the day, if you do not have access to your information, it doesn't matter why it has happened. It's a security breach. It's not just that somebody will use it against you. The fact that you have lost it. So again, I think you must keep in mind that the famous saying that data is the new oil. And so there are actually very cogent reasons to really look at the cloud. Now, very quickly on the issue of cybersecurity and what domain. For me, it's an economic issue. It's these components, for example, of security services, whether it's NSA or police or SSS, all they are trying to do is to build trust. And again, quite simply, right now, I challenge you, would you go to Kaduna now? Given the recent kidnapping, I believe not. It's trust. Now, yes, maybe the security services enforce the law, but at the end of the day, if people cannot move about in an economy, that economy actually will have problems. And that's why if you look at the economy of the Northeast, because of the ongoing insurgency, the economy basically has died. So for me, these things boil down to not just economy, actually it boils down to people. It's about human beings, it's about you and I, it's about our families. Then on the very important issue you raised in terms of insurance, that's actually a disruptive process and technology by itself. It has its place. You have a car, maybe, you have insurance on the car. So if one argues, as I just said, data is the new oil. I mean, for example, today now, let's say the minister opened this event. You collected his phone number and somebody stole your phone. That loss of that number to you may actually be more valuable than the car you ride. So why shouldn't you think about insuring it? And then I think, Mr. Adele, you talked about the issues of loss of privacy. At the end of the day, if you keep your data in your house and robbers in your house, for example, I had my backup data in my car when I was moving house several years ago. I went to the mosque on my way from my old house to my new house to pray Friday prayer. When I came back, the boot had been opened, the bag with all the drives gone. My privacy is gone. The truth of the matter at the end of the day is that privacy is a very important conversation our society needs to have. And just very quickly to buttress what the chairman has said about the cloud centers, we actually have 6+1, and the +1 is actually Galaxy Backbone, which is the government one. But the 6 are private. They're all in Lagos, from Lekki, Main 1 to Ikeja. So there are things we have to think about, even in terms of resilience as a country. If you have all your data centers in one cluster, when you have a flood in Lagos, that's a cybersecurity issue.
MTN has a backup in Ondo State.
Okay, that's good to know. But again, it's still that Lagos
Closer, in the
sector.
southwest coastal.
Yes. Finally, sir, on audience, there's a famous quote by a friend of mine, Barry Green, and he says that cyber criminals operate at the speed of light. Law enforcement operates at the speed of law. And I think most of us would agree, law is not always as fast as it should be. But that means that as a society, we must encourage our law enforcement to think ahead, to be proactive, to actually look at and identify possibilities before they happen so that they can mitigate them very, very quickly. Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. I recognize that we have enough time to deal thoroughly with all the questions. And then, again, these are emerging technologies. These are disruptive. Even if we spend all night, we probably won't be able to trash everything out. But then everybody is available for the rest of the conference, I hope, at least tomorrow. So please feel free to tap somebody and engage in an in-depth conversation on your own particular area. So once again, I thank you for coming, and I would like to especially thank our presenters for the passion, especially in particular the passion that they've shown and the depth of knowledge that they've shared with us. So thank you very much, everybody. Thank you. So have a wonderful, nice rest, and we'll see you tomorrow.